Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The topic for today is three lessons that will really help you in your life and your legacy. Okay. And when we talk about that, what is legacy? We're talking about like estate planning. We're talking about not just the physical and like legal tools for it, but also what do you want to leave behind for others to benefit from? What can help them, what will be beneficial to them. And it's not always the money, it's not always the houses, it's not always the cars. Obviously that helps and you'll never hear me tell you not to pass that along. But oftentimes you can give somebody something and they don't know what to do with it. So you might hear the lesson or the phrase, you can teach someone how to you can give someone a fish or teach them how to fish, right? If you give someone a fish, they'll eat. If you teach them how to fish, they'll always know how to get their own food. Okay. And that's kind of similar to what we're going to be talking about today. Um, and I wanted to begin with these three lessons because if you can get this through to yourself, the sooner the better. But especially if you're going to pass something on to the generation that follows, the sooner you can get it to them, the better. All right. So, with that being said, I'm going to talk about the top three life legal lessons, if you will, that you can apply on your journey to legacy. Okay, where life meets legacy, because we all know that this life will expire, this physical life will expire, but that's when your legacy will really take over. And again, it's not just the physical properties you'll leave behind, but also the spiritual laws that they'll be able to apply to better even protect that property, accumulate more, and keep passing it on. Just make it a never ending cycle of wealth and prosperity. Okay, so let's start with the first lesson. The first lesson, and I say this often, is to start where you are with what you have. A lot of times people think they need to have the $1 million mansion, they need to have all of the money in the bank, they need to have all of it to start. And you don't, okay? Now, obviously, people who have all those things already, they better start as soon as possible, right? Because you don't want to die without it. You can look at any celebrity. I think of Prince as a very good example of somebody who had a lot, but in the end did not leave a plan behind and caused a great chaos, right, among the family. Long, lengthy court process, which is probably what he didn't want, but that's the default when you don't plan, okay? When alternatively he could have had it some kind of trust set up and everything would go privately to whom he wanted and how he wanted it to be done. So there's kind of two sides to the coin in that, where if you think you have nothing and you don't start, if you have a lot and you don't start, there's still consequences. Okay, so either way, start where you are with what you have. And I take myself as an example. My career in law. So I'm an attorney. I've been licensed for 10 years, started law school 15 years ago. All right. That's not where my career started, though. Maybe physically, right? When I actually got into the building, when I actually sat for the bar exam, all that stuff. But it started for me even earlier. When I was 12, I decided that I wanted to become an attorney. Um, that was 25 years ago. I just celebrated a birthday on Monday. So 25 years ago is when I made that decision. And everything else I needed to achieve that goal, it flowed from that decision and it guided my actions. Okay, this same principle is true in estate planning. All right. The same is true with gardening. If we have any gardeners out there, or amateur gardeners like myself, right, who are actually seeing the fruits of their labor. You start with this small little seed. And within that seed is everything you need to produce more of that fruit, not just one of the fruit, but even more of the fruit. All right. And you don't have to have all of these fruits already to start. It just starts with that one seed. So start where you are with what you have. Are there going to be things you need to learn along the way? Of course. Okay. Like I said, I started my legal career right when I was 12. I didn't know anything about being a lawyer, but it started with just that decision. And then from there, I learned, okay, well, I have to graduate high school, right? Well, first, let me get through middle school. All right. And then once I go to high school, I have to go to college for 4 years. And after college for 4 years, I have to go to law school for 3 years. And after law school, I have to sit for the bar exam. Did I have all of this lined up already? No. Did I have all the money I needed to go to law school right away? No. But did it happen? And did that one decision guide my actions and my intentions? Yes, it did. Okay. So that is a big key lesson. Start where you are with what you have. The second one is something you may not think about often, and it's still something that I'm even learning how valuable it is, okay, by the day. And that is to develop and deposit into right relationships to receive Dividends. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, a dividend is money, right? We're talking about just pure money terms, money that pays you on money you've already invested. Okay, and usually you can count on it. There are stock companies that pay dividends every quarter, so 4 times a year. Some pay every month. And then there are like legacy dividends where you can count on them to always pay you. All right. The same is true with relationships. They got to be the right relationships. All right. If you make the right investments, means you got to put something in first now. The right ones too. Okay. Not just we'll get into it. But if you put the right investments into the right relationships, you never have to withdraw. So that means you never have to take out anything you already put in. Okay, you'll naturally receive dividends. What you put in will grow, and then you can receive from that. All right. And why relationships when it comes to like legacy, when it comes to estate planning, is because we're not going to be here forever, but somebody is going to have to carry on what we are intending to leave behind for somebody else. We talked about this, I think it was last week's video or the last couple of videos, where trust is a big factor. And trust really matters when it comes to who you're going to appoint to not just take over your legacy when you're gone, but also while you're still here. If you want to appoint somebody to be your power of attorney, who will you trust, right? What relationships do you have where you can put that much trust into somebody to say, you know what, I trust you in making my life decisions when I can't do it anymore. I trust you in caring for my children when I'm not around anymore. I trust you for managing my properties. I trust you for managing my investments when I can't do it anymore. That's a lot of trust. And oftentimes we don't think about it in that way. We just say, oh, somebody to take care of something. But when we really dive deep into what it is we're asking them to do, there's a significant amount of trust in there. Do we have those relationships that we can, again, draw into that trust a dividend from it, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is so important. And this is why right, 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 is so crucial. Because let's say the dividend, right, what you're getting out of it is really low. Maybe it's not paying you at all. You might want to reevaluate that relationship. And the hardest part is this can be family members. Family is always the toughest, I've seen personally and professionally when it comes to reevaluating, reassessing, and sometimes disconnecting from those relationships. Okay. We think just because it's blood, it has to stay in the family, the blood has to continue, etc. Not if they're not the right person for you. Not if you can't trust them with all the things we just talked about. Trust them with your life, trust them with your property, trust them with the life of your children. If you can't trust them with that, then it's a hard no. Okay. Or if you think there's still some developing they need to do for it, then maybe put them aside. Or if you can, talk to them about that, do that. But relationships are key. You always want to make sure you have good relationships, but also that you are a source for good relationships to flow into. All right. So being a source of dividends, if you will, to pour into and pour out of is very, very important. You have to commit to right actions with right intentions, right, in those right relationships, so there's no exploitation, but mutual benefit and appreciation. And so this is where I'm saying you have to put in the right investments. You have to not just look at people as things to use, as things to exploit, things to manipulate. And this is again where those evaluating those relationships come in, because there are some people that might want to put themselves in positions that would look like they're trustworthy, but they have ulterior motives. All right. So powers of attorney are a classic example. Let's say someone, puts themselves in this kind of relationship, but they're really only in it to get to the money. They're not really in it to protect the interests of that individual. All right, and there are laws to protect that. There are challenges you can make towards it. But this is why it's always key that you always reevaluate, you always reassess, and you always want to make sure that you're not the one in that position. You're not the one doing it. Okay, it's all about mutual benefit and appreciation. No exploitation, no manipulation. Those are ill intentions, wrong actions. That's not what we advocate. Okay, but right relationships, right investments, right actions, right intentions. Anytime you get something right, you want to give right in return. Okay, so let's just keep that cycle of righteousness going. And then the final lesson we'll talk about, that will enhance legacy, where life meets legacy. This is a big one as well, because I see the most successful clients I've had have been able to do this. And the ones who lose out, it's because of this a lot of times. Not always. Let's go back to number 2. Sometimes it's just not right. Okay. But this is a big one. So number 3 is don't fear the fight, fight the fight. All right. You always lose. Always, always, always lose if you never get in the game. How can you win if you're not in the game? You cannot. So by default, because there are default rules to life, period, and certainly there are defaults in the law, you lose. Okay. If you never fight back, it's a guaranteed loss. In fact, when it comes to legal battles where you don't fight back or respond, so let's say someone is threatening you with a lawsuit, um, you lose literally and legally by default. Okay. Because you failed to answer, you failed to put up a fight, you failed to put up a defense. When it comes to, suing you over money, suing you over property, or it could be, I've had this happen too, municipal governments for real estate investors, right? Going after them for tickets and blight and all this stuff, even though you're actually in the right. I've seen this happen where, someone is going after you for thousands of dollars. They're trying to reclaim the building. You don't fight, that's what they're going to get. Okay. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to you to fight? And if so, you cannot be afraid of the challenges. You must confront them. You must confront the challenges to conquer them. You cannot be afraid of the challenges. Are they going to come up? Yes, they are. This is life. Okay. It's not easy, but it doesn't have to be difficult. All right. And oftentimes, the people who lose by default in this way, they think they're keeping their peace. Oh, I'd rather not fight. I'd rather just keep the peace. And this is an incorrect notion. You do not keep the peace by not protecting it. You actually, your protection of it is keeping the peace. And protection is different. Protection can be putting a fence around your property, let's just say, okay? But it's some kind of positive action that you're doing. You keep the peace by protecting it, not sacrificing it. Sacrificing is when you let it go to somebody else. All right. So again, there's this false notion that keeping the peace means not doing anything or not fighting back. But in my opinion and experience, that actually kills the peace. Your peace. It kills your peace. Is your peace of mind that valuable to you? Or are you going to sacrifice it because somebody's coming after you? I put in air quotes because it can be a battle you can easily win. Okay, but it just, if it truly matters, you have to fight like it to keep it. I'll give a lighter example, okay, of gardening again, because I've been big into gardening this year. I kind of started last year. I didn't do much. I was scared then. All right. So again, can't be scared. I was scared and it showed. My plants did not prosper. But this year I was more intentional. I started a backyard garden. It's been very fruitful. But just 3 weeks ago, right at the beginning of August, when the fruit really started to appear after, the 60 days of developing and everything, my garden started coming under attack by squirrels. All right. They were pulling up my plants. They chewed down 2 corn stalks I had growing in. They were taking fruit. Literally, I would go check my garden in the morning. I would see ripe fruit. And then by the afternoon, the fruit would be gone. All right. And so did I just continue to let that happen? No. I put a fence around the garden. When that wasn't big enough, I bought more and I put more fencing around. When they still try to get through there, I use other means. I put spices all around and keep them out. Sometimes, even this morning, I would just go and chase them out of the garden. Okay. But it's worth it to me because I put in that sacrifice. I put in that effort. I am the one, and not just me, but I am the one who wants to be benefiting from the fruit of my labor. You should be as well, right? Your family. I'm not the only one eating. My family is eating from this garden. When it comes to you, what have you planted that you should be able to benefit from, right? You work for decades. You should be able to benefit from that house. You should be able to benefit from those investments, from the money and all the things, but not just you, your family. That's the whole point, right? That's why you're working so hard to do this. Don't just come and let anybody take it from you. I don't care who they are. If you can fight back, right, within legal means, of course, right, and not doing anything dirty. We already talked about right relationships, right intentions. But if you can fight back and it matters to you, then do it. It's almost like not even a legal obligation, a moral obligation to your family. And that's what estate planning can do for you. That's a measure of protection. That's a measure of fighting back from the government who will have a default plan instituted that will not benefit your family, fighting back from taxes, right? That's another big one. Again, fighting back from agencies who may try to claim your property, fighting back from neighbors who might try to claim your property. All this stuff has happened now, okay, in life and in my own personal practice. I've seen all this stuff happening. Just because these threats are out there, just because these risks are out there, does not mean that you are not without options and without choices, but you must take it upon yourself to fight back. Don't be afraid, okay? So I hope this has been helpful. That is our video for today. If it has been helpful, please do like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know what more you would like to be seeing, and share it with your networks, okay? And until then, we will see you again, same time, same place, next week, Thursday, August 29th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, take care.